Hey guys, we're here at the Toronto Underground Cinema talking with Jonathan Holiff and Jeff Paikin about their new documentary, My Father and the Man in Black. The film chronicles the relationship between your father, Saul Holiff, and Johnny Cash.
A few months ago, my father killed himself, and he didn't leave a note. But then, I found his storage locker.
The situation was that Johnny Cash was on the floor of the motorhome, totally unconscious. For all intents and purposes, he was dead.
The movie, to me, felt like more of a father-son story with the Johnny Cash sideline to sort of tie it all together. Would you agree with that?
I do. I never set out to tell the Johnny Cash story. I wasn't, quite frankly, interested in telling that story. I was interested in telling a universal story about dysfunctional families, fathers and sons, and I have the privilege of being able to tell a story like that, which doesn't come along often because I have a celebrity attached to the movie. So Johnny affords us that possibility.
You guys had a lot of ties, and you personally have ties to London, Ontario. Can you talk about the significance of your relationship with London and your father and Johnny's relationship?
I think what I take from the London experience is what I witnessed in my own father. Here was a man who could have lived in Hollywood or New York or London, England. And quite frankly, they often thought he lived in London, England. Many telegrams went missing and got sent to London, England, meant for Saul. But he actually insisted on living in London, even though he managed the biggest superstar in the world at the time, Johnny Cash. And our family actually originates in London, Ontario.
And you were born at St. Joe's Hospital, right?
Yes, you must be referring to the telegram that Saul sent Johnny on the occasion of my birth. And I was so gratified. This, as I said, is the first time we've seen this movie at a premiere. And I heard a lot of laughs on the telegram because when you see the movie, Saul actually makes it sound as if he's promoting a show, and he says, no mics or extra talent required, admission free, don't you dare miss him, you know, and he sent that to Johnny Cash to show his flair as a promoter. But I had no idea it existed, nor that it ran in the London Free Press. And yes, I was born in St. Joe's Hospital in 1960.
I brought Johnny in to help publicize the restaurant in 1958, and we hit it off.
Saul said I should be aiming at big places in big cities.
You've spent hours going through video recordings and letters and nearly 5 years making this film. Do you feel that this was a therapeutic process for yourself and your family members?
I do. I would say that it was a hell of a lot cheaper than seeing a therapist. But I want to also defer to Jeff because the fact of the matter is that I'd written a movie for which I had no ending. And if it hadn't been for his family, as you may have seen at the end of the movie, who was...
Don't give it away. It's going to show in London next week. Don't
right.
give it
well,
away.
If it hadn't been for his family, I would not have had an ending for the movie. I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Executive Producer.
Yes.
Johnny Cash was arrested yesterday in Texas. The singer is charged with smuggling drugs across the Mexican border.
Did you guys have any difficulties with the audio recordings, dealing with it in a visual medium?
Now that is a very good question I haven't gotten before, and the answer is yes. Boy, these tapes were rough. Some of them recorded in airplanes, some of them recorded in cars, and we had to do restoration work like you wouldn't believe. Having said that, once we did that work, and I hope you would agree, and I know Jeff did, because it was the audio tape that convinced him that this could be a movie, that you don't even need to see the picture. You can close your eyes and listen to Saul and Johnny speak, and it's so cinematic. They just both had such a way of expressing themselves. So at the end of the day, the fact that I shot reenactments to back those stories was a no-brainer because they're such great storytellers, the two of them.
And the amazing part about the tape recordings is that it's an insight not into what people think they were thinking, but it's right into their own brains.
Right.
And there's a particular scene where you can see a photo of Saul with the old stick on the hand receiver,
Yes.
taping his phone call with Johnny, and you get to hear that exact phone call. It's not reenactments, it's not other people, it's them in 1960 something.
Right. There's an interesting and great movie about Kurt Cobain called About a Son, and it's driven entirely by audio like our film, but that audio is 2 weeks worth of interviews with a journalist for a book. Now, of course, Cobain would edit himself as he's answering questions to a journalist, but Johnny and Saul had no idea that we're going to use this stuff 50 years later.
Right.
And so it's the unvarnished truth.
And I just wanted to quickly ask you, how do you feel your father would feel about the documentary you've made?
Wow, tough question, huh? For the last, how do you think he would feel? Kick me?
I think he might be a little shocked. I think he might be probably introspective and regretful when he saw the effects in reality of his own actions, and probably angry that his story got outside of the four walls of his own office in some crazy way.
Absolutely. I do, and I would say that a lot of people, some of whom are very optimistic thinkers, think that Saul left all this stuff for me to find and reconcile with him. The fact that, and others think that there was a sign on the door that said, in the event of my death, open this door and all of Johnny Cash will be revealed. I didn't open the door, and there was no DVD sitting there where I could just pick it up and plug it into a machine. This is 6 years, 6 months of research. Saul would have probably been, if he were buried, spinning in his grave if he knew I touched his stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think that he would be very happy that his story got told.
Well, I'm glad you told it. I certainly found it to be a very beautiful story. It was sad, but I think it was very well put together, and you guys did a great job.
Nice one. Cash causes all the trouble.
I'm falling apart, physically and emotionally. It is not a very pretty picture.